Hello, chess friends. This is International Master Valeri Lilov, and welcome to today's YouTube broadcast. So today we're going to be talking about an incredibly interesting topic, and this has to do with how to be successful at playing gambits. You know, speaking of gambits, a lot of people don't know what gambits are really all about, and gambits are the best way to improve your game as a chess player as well as to learn openings. I mean, even if you don't get to play these type of openings, the gambits, in real tournament games, playing them in practice type of exercising games could still give you the ability to feel strong and really succeed with playing any opening later on. So I have a lot to teach you today, and most importantly, I'm going to teach you the key things, the key concepts to making overwhelming attacks when you're playing a gambit, how to make sure you get enough compensation for any material you sacrifice, and of course, a lot more to become successful at playing gambit lines. So let us get started. Now, before we begin, I would very much like to explain to you what a gambit is. So let's get started with that question. What is a gambit in the first place? Now, gambit is when you have basically a pawn or some material sacrificed, and the idea being is that you give away that material in order to receive certain initiative, like pressure against the opponent, create threats, and do things like that. Now, that is obviously very important because when you get to achieve this, you start your attack. So obviously you have to pay the price, giving away one or two pawns to get the compensation and launch tactics or threats for your opponent. The best way for me to explain to you how you can really do gambits well is to show you a couple of incredible games. I think you're really going to like this first one that I have to share with you. And that was played between the players Friedman and his opponent was Beneda, in fact. So let's flip the board here so we can see it from the white side. Now, this game is played in the Hungarian Correspondence Chess Championship in 1975. But it is a beautiful example. And just to let you know before we start, right below this video, you can take a look at the exclusive 50% off Gambit Domination bundle. So it has to teach you everything you need to know about gambits, how to make them more successful, and what you need to remember. So let's get started. First of all, let's talk about this game. White started with the game of e4, so black had to do e6. There was d4, d5, and white played e5. Now, this is, as you know, the French defense, and the main goal for black is to use the e6 and d5, as well as eventually c5, to challenge white's center. Of course, when white plays e5, he takes away the square of black's knight, so that black's knight doesn't get out. And the point being is, yes, okay, white gets a strong center. He may be able to back it up with a move c3, and things look good. So, okay, white played is like that. And the moment e5 happens, black goes c5, c3, and queen up to b6. Okay, so what we have is a position that's really interesting. So white has to build up his attack. He doesn't have anything going very quick. He doesn't have anything like special initiative. So he plays the move knight f3, getting that knight out. And the idea is when black plays knight c6, to play along with bishop d3. So far, there is no gambit because white hasn't sacrificed anything. The gambit happens when you sacrifice something to get something, usually a pawn or two in the beginning. So there is no sacrifice just yet. However, in a couple of moves, after the exchange, take back, and now you probably see that black can't win that pawn. This is a very common trap. This pawn, despite being protected only by one piece, is indirectly covered, so black would lose his queen. So black obviously can't take that, and then he does bishop to d7. So bishop d7, and white plays the castling. Now, this is the gambit variation. What we have here is a bit of a late gambit in which white's main goal is to give away the pawn on d4 in order to provoke black to spend one or two moves in taking it and further on bringing some of his other pieces a little too far. And so this will give white a fantastic possibility, fantastic chance to take the initiative. So let's see how that really works out. After the move of short castles by white, black obviously takes in d4. So after the capture, takes, takes. Here comes my first question to you guys, and I'd really like you to think about it. So white's major thing, the one thing he needs to decide is, okay, what are we supposed to do now? Are we going to attack? Are we going to develop? Are we going to just do something else that's specific? Just let me know what you think white's got to do. You can use the chat window. I'm going to read your suggestions and I'm going to comment on them. So let me know about that. And yeah, so that would be great. So what is white supposed to do right now? See if anybody has a suggestion. Okay. Now I don't see any comments. I'm just gonna invite you to write down your own commentary and your own suggestion, your own idea. Okay, E5 needs protection. That is a good point. Thank you for mentioning that. But if we protect E5, doesn't that mean that we're starting to defend? We're starting to go backward. I don't really like the idea with the defense. I don't think that defending will necessarily lose. But yeah, if we play with a move of rook e1, likely that will give black a chance to play knight e7, and we really haven't gotten anything. The bishop e3 looks better. But again, see, black will likely do queen takes b2, which once more time will make us defend. You see, like what we need to do is we'll have to move out the knight, and then obviously that gives black an extra tempo. So develop. That's right. At a certain point, you can think about getting the chance to attack or threaten the opponent, and that will be great. But sometimes we just don't have enough. Even if we have sacrificed a piece or two, we still need quite a bit. So we could get the promising threats and possibilities that our position could provide. And that is the kind of moment right now. White just doesn't have enough. He simply doesn't get to have enough firepower. So what white is doing is to play the move of knight c3. He just gets enough pieces. Now keep that in mind. The gambit doesn't necessarily give you this brilliant consecutive attack. And one of the things I'll advise you is when you're playing any gambit, like giving away a pawn in order to get the speed and the pacing, really take the time. Just set your pieces out and get enough pressure against the opponent before you start creating threats. So what we see in this moment is that right after the white's nice knight c3 move, black had to capture with the queen, and then white is able to play rook e1. Now, did black do well? Now, not really. I wouldn't say so. I think that black's last move was a little too much of a provocation. He took a pawn that was directly in front of the king, but most people will really go that way because they say, you know what, I don't see any real trouble. I don't see why I shouldn't. The correct move would probably be a6 to cover b5 so white doesn't get to jump, and then most likely get to play knight e7 and knight c6. It's going to take time, but it will be safer. Yet he took the pawn because he said, you know what, after rook e1, I'm going to move my queen right back, and I'll be safe. So this is another very important question. White's doing great. He's got a very good looking rook, nice pieces, and obviously we can take the pawn on d5. So this is awesome. White has already taken back one pawn, and even though it feels like black is fairly safe and secure in this position, the question is, how do we get to continue the attack right now? So I want you to think very carefully about this position from white's perspective and look at what white's best shot is going to be. Knight takes d5 was a great move. We did it. So what's supposed to be the next move to follow? Take a moment here. Now, like what I like to call about those positions is that they're pretty critical. Now, something you can very nicely, black should have played the move queen b8. I believe so, but it's too passive. You see, for especially for someone who doesn't know the theory too much, this type of move that just makes no sense. So it's better that we spend a tempo, but we get it on a5. I agree, but I think Black just wanted to make the move of Queen to B5, Queen A5. Now, one of you said, "I can't hear your voice." I believe it should be good. Please let me know if you can't hear me. If you can hear me, I'd appreciate it if you send me a message, so that I know. Um, so I want you to think and tell me what's White's best variation, or how should White continue now? Bishop B5 doesn't work. He's got the bishop, so he can take back. Now, while you're thinking, I want to share again with you that great opportunity for you to take a complete course on Gambits for 50% off, for a really tremendous price. You get some of the top grandmasters, some of the top teachers to teach you how to play Gambits. And one of the reasons why I took on the possibility to give this webinar is because I was really impressed by what concepts they have. See, when I was younger, I had a lot of obstacles to become a strong player. I still remember when I was like 18, 1900, I couldn't get myself into positions to attack and threaten my opponents enough, especially the stronger opponents. And then what I actually did is I started studying the master examples on how they teach gambits, how they show gambit lines. So I prepared a so-called gambit repertoire. And what was great about it is that with every game that I got to play, I was getting in a position with a pawn down or 2 pawns down, but a tremendous attacking success. It's like I had the opportunity to exercise myself into attacking and threatening at a cost of just 1 pawn or 2. And it was amazing. With the advice that was given in those books that I read, in those videos that I watched, they gave me all the necessary feedback on what I was failing when I was making attacks and also in other positions, and that was great. So this bundle that you can get right below this video is fantastic, and it has exactly these little secrets to help you become more successful. Now let's talk about this position here. What does White need to do? I mean, retreating is just not an option. We can't do it. If we do, it's going to be bad. Now, what if we just play Rook E5? Is Rook E5 a good move? You know what? I quite like that move. This is a reasonable move. We're going to prepare ourselves for Knight F6. Then the thing is, Black will likely play something like B5, And while the rook is amazing, I just don't think that there is so much that we can get here. It's a nice rook, but that's about it. Even if we get that knight around or away, he'll likely do bishop to d6, and this is just not going to reach out too far. So while I'm certain that the move is good, it's just not too good. So Rook E5 simply doesn't work quite well. Okay, well, can we do the move of bishop to the c4? You know what? I think it's a nice move to look at, bishop to c4. But then after the bishop to the c4, Black can make a move of knight e7. And then you realize that even after bishop d2 and then queen to the d8, he's just going to be safe. I think there's no follow-up. See, the most important thing for any attack that you're setting is to make sure there is a strong or there's a good follow-up. If there is no follow-up, you can't quite make it. You can't do it. So this just wouldn't seem to work out too well. Anybody? Bishop d2 or b4. Let's talk about that. I like bishop d2, but then unfortunately our knight's hanging, so we can't quite make it. b4 too fails due to that. So I think it's going to be a little too much of a sacrifice. Maybe that could work? Probably, if we had the knight covered. If we had it defended, that would have been excellent. So anybody? Do you have a suggestion? Think about it once more time. So let's see. What do you have in mind? Sometimes people ask me, Valerie, I have a real problem in setting up attacks for the long term. They say I set up an attack, it seems to work, but at a certain point I just don't know how to carry it on. I don't have I don't have a possibility. See, I believe that the most important is you just get through with the forcing moves. Think about this. Checks, captures, and direct threats are most powerful. Queen f3 doesn't work because of the e1 rook, for sure. So that doesn't seem to be a nice way to follow. So, like, you see, what are the things that we have to do is just to come forward and make sure that we create more forcing, more damaging moves against the opponent in this position. Now, that is what's so needed. And while I had to think about like many different moves, one move stands out. No, but it's not bishop f5. See, this move isn't going to be forcing. It's a nice move, but it just doesn't cause too much trouble. It's like after that move, black can play knight e7 or bishop c6. I just don't think that it will be too good. So, nope. I like the move. I like the idea, but it's not working. Let's think again. Think more. I'm not going to tell you to move. Bishop e4 is fine. I mean, I want some of you to find it, and I want you to think very carefully so you can find it. Keep in mind, it's not that easy. So just keep thinking, keep looking. This is a beautiful move. Rook takes d6. Well, how about that? I mean, that sounds as crazy as I'm saying it. It's a move that makes basically no sense whatsoever. It's a kind of candidate that would just look like it's basically breaking through. And I mean, like after rook takes to the e6, wow, I mean, just why do we do that? I mean, why are we giving away a whole rook? You see, I recommend you to just think about such a move, not necessarily play it, just think about it. Because even if it doesn't work, the point is, if you think about it, okay, you will see why it does or why it doesn't work, and that could make a difference. See, this is what we're looking to do right now. The point being is that after rook takes to e6, just like that, if black plays bishop takes to the e6, we're getting a perfect opportunity to continue now with the move of bishop b5 check. And you see that while every single piece of white is now well involved in attacking the black king, most of his own pieces are completely misplaced and backward. So that means if he plays with queen takes b5, we got knight c7 with a check, and then his queen is going to fall. That's pretty awesome. And then, okay, we see that if the black king moves out of the way, then there's going to be the move of bishop to g5 check, f6. And then most likely knight f4, which I really love as a candidate. I don't know if this is going to be good or bad, but certainly I am not feeling that good about black's position. Queen b6 fails due to knight d5. You know, I always remember this grandmaster suggestion when there was once a grandmaster who used to say there's a relative value between each piece, and the relative value basically depends on what the piece is actually doing. You see, the interesting part here is that every single piece of black, every single one of them, plays very little percentage of what it's supposed to be. So even though white's material down physically, most of his pieces are playing much, much better as opposed to any of the ones remaining for black. So I guess what black would probably need to do is a move like f takes d6, just like that. So okay, what do we do then? I mean, oh, come on. This looks like black is just going to save himself. I mean, with f takes d, right? Well, almost, but not really. See, even though the f takes d was the best move that he could have played, white has queen h5. Now, obviously, before you sacrifice like this, you must have calculated everything very carefully because it's too big. Yeah, like what we find is that in case of g6, there is knight f6 check, knight takes f, and then we have the possibility to do queen takes f, winning the black queen. So that's pretty awesome. All right, that's not it, because black doesn't have to do it this way. He can just continue king d8. But then you see every single move is forcing, which we basically call in chess is the initiative. When you make those type of moves, a sequence of forcing, threats, and pressure over the opponent, you make it so big. Because the black king continues to run now. There's rook c1 check. His king has to go, But then we play with a move like bishop f4, and that is just going to be a killer. So like no matter where he goes, we just take it, and black's king is in trouble. So that's amazing. And even if black plays with something like knight f6, there's just knight takes f6. White is able to take a minor piece plus the upcoming attack. And yes, maybe we could say that black could stay alive in this position. He's not going to lose right away. But the truth is that his position is so bad and so difficult to defend here with that king in the middle that seeing further moves like bishop e4 and rook d1 and knight f7 and so on and so on, it just makes it so hard to believe there will be any defense in a longer run. Still, that was probably the best defense. And anyway, in the game itself, black played the move of bishop takes d6, and after bishop b5, he did king to the d8. Now, I mentioned that bishop g5 was a really strong move, and I think it was, to be honest with you. But you know what white did? He found something even better. He found something that was even more impressive in this position. Let's see if you can find a second solution. You see, some positions have a second solution. Now, this next move that white found that I wasn't really able to sort of see it, and it was incredible. Basically, this is something that you will find so well explained in the Grandmaster bundle that I was telling you about earlier. I mean, this is a really like unique type of thing because a lot of chess players don't understand how necessary it is to study the patterns behind any tactical moves or gammas that we get to play. So something you get to realize right now is that every single piece of white is perfect. The black king is in a horrible place, but what is the key of a successful attack? The key of a successful attack is making sure you hold the pressure. You see, bishop g5 works, I agree. But what if it was yet a pawn out there or something like that? How would you like to continue the attack now? Think about it. If you check in the like 50% off Gambit domination bundle that is below this video, you're going to realize that a lot of the grandmasters teaching how to think or how to play oftentimes explain the value of quiet moves. The quiet moves are very necessary so we get the chance to stabilize and make sure everything is clear. So what really took place in this position was the move of a4, and that was brilliant. It was a great way to go forward. It's a beautiful sequence, and then you understand why that move really counts. It's great. So think about this. What is most necessary in such a position? Let's take the opportunity to simply stabilize. Everything's great. Position is solid. The black king is in danger, and that's it. It's awesome. This is beautifully played. Now, there is nothing that black can do to defend himself. Check this out now. If black plays a6, we could still do bishop g5, or we can even do something else like b4. Now, if the black bishop takes it, we got knight takes the b4, then king e6, king c8, let's say, and that king e7 will be a little too bad. Then we got bishop g5. See, it's not the tactical break that kills him. It's the pressure that you have and the domination of your more active pieces that is the secret of the success in gambits. When the black king moves out of the way, we got queen d6 check, then bishop e3 coming up next, and then queen c7 with a checkmate. That is the so-called second solution to this position. It's the other one wins too because of the current circumstances, but white found that a4 could be even stronger because despite not having anything more powerful, what we need to do is just keep the pressure on. Now, one of you said, that the transmission is broken down. What happened? I'm not sure. Is it broken down? Can you still hear me? Can you please confirm that the sound is working? It could be just one person. Maybe your internet connection broke. If it did, you just refresh the page and that should rerun it. But trial is better than the execution. I kind of agree with that, to be honest with you. It's perfect. Yes, you're fine. Okay, thank you. Thank you for confirming. So that's good. All right, well, that's it. A4, and now black was just in a terrible position. He has no good defenses. Like, really, just we're threatening B4. And now in case of the only move that black has, which is king c8, let's see if anybody could suggest what white should do. Keep in mind, we got like 3 pieces, the queen, the bishop, and the knight, but we need to bring one more to make the attack really successful. Anyone? All right, let's see about that. What do you think white should do to keep the attack going? Bishop f4, absolutely add there. This is a perfect way to go forward. So after we continue with the move of bishop there, then we have the opportunity to come up with the move of bishop to the c7. We got rook to the c1, and we got more or less everything in place. That's the way to go. This is perfect. c2 with the queen works too, but let's just get the bishop up. Have the queen, we have the knight, we got the bishops. And now the key question, what are we missing? Come on, our rook needs to get into the battle. So why not? Why not bring it on? Let's do it. Beautiful, really powerful, and super good. Yep, that was it. We didn't need to do it in any other way. So I think after bishop to f4, black's position practically collapses. Well, there is one move he can do, bishop c5, but then it's just really not that much. Like bishop c5 here, b6, and then after b4, we see that black's queen gets trapped. It's the domination. I think this is a perfect introduction to what a gambit is, because, see, while this game is so easy to understand, on the other hand, you see, gambit is not something you do just because you want to give away a pawn. You give away the pawn on purpose. You let him to spend a few extra moves to get that pawn. But then on the other hand, you get new files and extra moves to help out your development and your actual attack against the opponent. Something really brilliant about this too is to look at how you can maintain your pressure. You see, like, oftentimes you can do it with forcing moves, like rook takes d6, so you have to put them at a highest priority in your list. But other times, like in this position, we can do quiet moves just to keep the structure and the formation set, and then you can make more powerful threats as it goes along. I think it was a great example, and I hope you liked it as much as I did. I think it was lovely. So let's see if anybody has a question. What could black have done to save himself from just getting defeated? I mean, it's a good question. I personally think that he should have not taken that second pawn. He should have just played a move of a6, as I mentioned before. a6, knight e7 to knight to the c6, just to get better. But yeah, I mean, he didn't do it, so he actually got into trouble. So let's talk a little bit about Hungarian Championship 1975. Absolutely. Let's talk about another game I've got for you guys. So this next one is pretty cool. So let's talk about this. Now, this one is really beautiful. Even though it's a small game, it's going to be like a test game to see what have you learned from this one. So, see? Now, this game was played between Kiselyov and Yakubayev, 2 Soviet chess masters in 1979. It's a pretty short game, really, so more like a test. So pay attention because I'm going to ask some very important questions. Knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, knight f6. This is the 4 knights defense, very popular opening. d4, e takes d4. And instead of taking back and going into Scotch, white plays knight d5. Now, oftentimes gambits tend to confuse people, and it was certainly very confusing for black when white did the move of knight d5. So he said to himself, as many other people will usually say in such a position, why not just grab that pawn in the middle and enjoy? So here comes my first question to you. How would you like to build your attack up? How would you like to make it happen? So take a second and think very carefully about it. Now, I want to remind you all just to keep in mind that right below this video on a link, you can get this tremendous, very, very good Gambit domination bundle, which I think includes about, I think it was like 6 or so highly instructive DVD packages that are on a variety of different Gambit repertoires, like the Benko Gambit presented by Grandmaster Lemos. Then we have the Evans Gambit by Grandmaster Hartsby, and there's like Smith Mora, some of the incredible Gambits and how Grandmasters beat Gambits, so you can actually learn how to defend against Gambits and how to refute them by Mihalevsky. There's like a lot of information about Gambits on how to play them and how to fight against them, which is actually quite amazing. Some of the top grandmasters, like Grandmaster Sam Shanklin's videos, I love them. Like he's explaining how to crush with the Schillerman Gambit. You know, Grandmaster Sam Shanklin is like 2600 Grandmaster from US, very young, very well educated, and really amazing teacher in my opinion. So he's explaining how to destroy with that. And there's King's Gambit as well. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant package for 50% off. So check this out. I think it's awesome. Now, okay, let's talk about that. So what do we do now? All right, so you suggest the move of Queen E2 in this type of position. Do you think it's a good move? I like that type of idea, but then what if Black just comes forward with the move of pawn to f5 in this type of position? He's just going to stabilize, and I don't feel like we get that far with this move. So think about this. We got a strong knight, but there is not enough. What else do we do? Anything else? Bishop c4 looks like a good move too. Not a bad thing to say. But then, you know, this is the question. It's a quiet move. Do we do it? Do we not do it? Now remember, sometimes there just isn't a forcing sequence you could follow up. And so what we'd like to do is set the move of not queen, but bishop c4, which brings us to the idea of castling short, setting up the rook on the e1, and bringing more pressure against the opponent. Now, when that move is played, and Black actually got this knight back to the c5, then we're ready to do another type of attack, which comes with bishop to the g5. And that's beautiful out there. We have bishop g5, which is amazing setup. And, you know, something that you can learn from the grandmasters who actually set that bundle, it's actually incredible, of course, is that this is what I was able to learn personally. Every single time when you make a gambit, the secret of success in those is based on the key coordination of your pieces. Like if you can make your pieces get advanced and work together, that's how you make it work in that moment. And this is beautiful. We got the bishop on g5, so what Black has to do is to play along with actually knight e7. So what do we do now? It's a very flexible position, but take a moment to think. So, you got a great bishop, fantastic knight. The black king is back. You say the move of queen to e2. Sure, I don't mind that move. But you know what really makes an attack successful? It's the pressure, sure. But the pressure really happens when we create threats. So while queen e2 will definitely work out as a move, I just think that what we need is to make more threats. And that simply involves getting more pieces in the battle, making it more powerful by just bringing new attackers on the line. Now, that will never be too easy, but this is what we got to do. This is how we're supposed to do it. So how can White bring more attackers while at the same time he sets threats? Now, I got queen takes d4. Good suggestion. Thank you for that. But you know what? There's a problem. He's just going to drive our queen away. and he's going to challenge the g5. So wherever we go, it does look like black will just push our queen. Then he will likely push the knight, and then we have a problem. So no. Something else has to happen. Take your time and think about it. This is very important. Now, something I was able to learn actually from Grandmaster Sam Shanklin's videos from the Gambit bundle that you can get at an amazing price. It's like 50% off. Link below. Something that I was able to learn from his videos. He's amazing, actually. Just I say it because I'm really impressed from him as a presenter. Is that oftentimes there's only one thing that you need to do so you can create threats. You see, like, there's like a combination of 4 things that makes the attack. Okay, so I want you to remember these 4 things. And the first thing is time. That's what Gambits give you. You give away a pawn, but you get time. You get a few extra moves so you can set up things and make us better. So you get time. Okay. Now what I was able to learn is that after time, you get activity. Like, so you need to basically bring your pieces on the most advanced squares. That's how you are ready to break your opponent. And then you create threats. And the threats leads to, you know, the initiative, like the sequence of these impossible sometimes to defend attacks against the opponent. So we have time, active pieces that equal to threats that ultimately leads to initiative, like this sequence of forcing moves. You see, I don't explain it too well because I can't explain it as he does. He is doing it much better. So that's why I recommend you checking out those videos. But it's incredible that what we need to do is knight e5. Looks good. Yeah, doesn't it? We got knight f6. We got bishop takes f7. We got the black king. And we got like 4 attackers on the forefront. This is awesome. You know? I really like that. Yeah, you do like that too, don't you? But you see, black's persistent. So he's just not going to give up. He's playing the move of knight e6 in order to stop that attack and make sure that, you know, he just blocks our threats in the position. So what do we do now? It's a good question. I mean, seriously, it's not that easy to decide, but it's a pretty good question. Think about that. You know, the way I look at the position, white is doing great. Bishop f6, very nice a suggestion for you. This is good. But let's think about the opponent. You see, while you're attacking, don't forget to always look at the opponent's threats. See, in the bundle right below, there was a lecture. I don't remember whose lecture was it. I mean, I don't remember exactly who was the author, but there was this moment in one of the videos that I was able to learn that was just suggesting that the key to make your attack is to look around, pause, and find out the vulnerabilities inside the opponent's position. Just pause. I can't tell you how impressive that was for me. The pausing type of idea suggests you stop calculating and you simply do what we call as look around. And then we find what's out there, really, what's out there. What we see, what we realize is that now, or right this moment, there is this incredible, really incredible weakness that turns out to be on, well, f7. And so what we are seeing in this type of position is that there is this move. Okay, this is actually incredible. But it's amazing to see that all that white needs to do is just queen f3. He doesn't have to apply anything different. It's just a small, brilliant candidate that sets it up, and now he's in a real trouble. So let's talk about that, actually. So after the move of queen f3, queen h5, knight g5. Okay, can't queen h5 happen? Good question. Thank you for asking this. I really appreciate your comments and your suggestions. Queen h5 is good too, but queen f3 is just more effective. Because while queen h5 can be met by knight, you know, okay, maybe not knight of the g6. maybe g6, but no, there's knight f6. You're right, actually. Maybe knight takes g5, but then there's this. Queen f3 in some way, well, actually, they're kind of equal, to be honest. I just like that a lot more because it sets the attack here, and it's also associated with the center. And, we'd like to have some more pieces around the middle. But you're right. Including the queen as an idea really makes it brilliant. So then there's the take. And if you're thinking what that is, we got another check. And then we got this. To show it again in slow-mo, queen goes up, check, another one, and another one. And you see, it's kind of incredible because black can't really stop it. After queen f3, he's got every single piece that he has completely paralyzed and totally on the back side out there. So this is amazingly bad in such a short amount of time. It's incredible. Queen f3 practically kills him. So what I love about this game in particular is that one moment in which, I mean, first of all, obviously white got the pieces. He started attacking, but the one moment in which we get to pause. See, the pause in the 4 elements is what I was able to learn. And that's what I want to tell you. Check out this, check out this amazing bundle. Like this is, I think it's about 6 different packages, like DVD packages with a lot of videos by top grandmasters that happen to be at around the $7 a piece, which is an incredible deal. And each of them teaches both the opening theory as well as a lot of concepts. So like the 2 things that strike me as most important and I could see clearly happened in this game is like the very first thing that's great is like the 4 elements. So we need, in order to get the attack going well in the gambits, we need time that we get when you sacrifice a pawn and active pieces. So these 2 things, when you sacrifice a pawn to get the active pieces, you get to create threats. And the threats ultimately lead to initiative. So those 4 things you got to go forward with. So like, we get the time, then I lose that time. He loses the time, but I get the active pieces. And I create threats with those pieces, and I got to make a sequence, so I take over the initiative. It's really a good order. And then the idea about pausing, just to look around and find the vulnerabilities, like a very apparent vulnerability in f7. If you don't pause, if you just keep calculating, you'll likely miss it, and that's not good. So, actually, I love that game. So, let's talk a little bit about another game. Now, this next game I want to show you is my personally favorite. It was played by a 2200 player. In fact, he wasn't a weak player, but I'd like to say that he wasn't a brilliant like grandmaster. In fact, he defeated the grandmaster with the black pieces. The game was played between Torben Schulze and Sergei Kasparov, not Gary Kasparov. Okay, I like to clarify that. It was Sergei Kasparov who played that game. So for those of you who are actually just curious, I mean, okay, so 2200 beat Kasparov. Well, okay, first of all, I'm not saying he beat him. You have to figure it out yourself. But what was amazing about this is it was played by a reasonably decent player, but not a fantastic master. And he destroyed a almost 2500 grandmaster with the black pieces. The game is so brilliant that Sergei Kasparov himself, the Belarusian grandmaster, in fact accused black of cheating. It was amazing because it was such an incredible opening, an incredible gambit. And what turned out in the end is that he actually, of course, he wasn't cheating, but what happened is that he prepared all that line, up front, and he really caught him. It was like a home preparation. The game was played in 2011 in the Northwest Cup in Germany, I believe. So they started with e4. And then actually right after that move, black played knight c6. Now this sounds very strange because white just did knight f3. Like, why does he have to worry? And then we got f5. Now, I don't encourage you to necessarily follow this example and go ahead with this, but it's kind of incredible that you see the move of f5 from black side. I mean, anybody who sees that kind of move will be like, hold on here. I mean, this is bullshit. I'm not supposed to think about doing that. But I want you to remember, this was a classical game. And we have a grandmaster that was playing white. So that was really interesting. So after the move of f5, white just took the pawn. I mean, obviously, he decided, okay, this is a good pawn. Why not take it? Now, the first thing that makes it possible for you to get the active pieces is the center. This means you really need to get the center command. If you don't get the center, you forget about all the different tactics and things you want or you can do. So even though Black didn't have that much of a center, he actually tried to build one by setting up d5 with the idea to take that pawn. Now, of course, white has a chance to protect it, but I don't really think it's such a good idea. For instance, if he plays knight h4, if some of you are wondering about that, Black would just do the move of, well, actually, you can even go ahead with a move like knight f6 or knight h6. Knight f6 looks good. Bishop b2, maybe e5 will follow, and then likelihood after the exchange, then bishop takes to e6. I wouldn't really say that the sacrifice goes for nothing. A very active and quick development is going to happen from Black's side, which will help him to further on launch some brilliant activity on the king's side. So this is basically what Black was prepared to do. There are other ways to go too, but I mean, white didn't care about that. Obviously, he decided to go with d4. This is called the Colorado Gambit. Exactly, the Colorado Gambit. So Black just took the pawn. It's not a gambit anymore, but again, I mean, white's pretty good, right? I mean, he's getting a very good development, a backward pawn out there. He's ready to castle, so things are going real well. So Black played e6. I mean, it's clear what he wants to do next move. He'd like to play bishop d6, knight e7, and get a pretty decent game. So white said, you know what? I'm not going to let you do that. I'm going to hit you as hard as I can with my knight. So Black obviously had to defend here. And then I'm going to go with queen h5 check so I can keep kicking you. You're playing incorrect gambit. I just keep kicking you. Check. Here. Black develops. And white goes bishop g5. Now, you're probably at this point, you're thinking, Valerie, why are you showing me this game? This is an awful gambit. But keep in mind, gambits have one thing. And that's what I want to recommend you to listen to when you're checking those. I mean, if you decide to check on the Empire Chess Gambit Domination Bundle, that is what really it speaks up. Like most of the opening lines out there are just the base. It has a lot of insight on attacking. And one of the things that I'll recommend you to focus on is how most of the grandmasters who play these gambit lines built the potential. They get the potential, and they can grow on that potential to make more stuff, to make more threats. Now, what comes out of bishop g5 is amazing, but I'd like you to take a moment and think about it yourself and provide your own suggestion as to what Black should do. Queen to the d6, maybe. I mean, it's a good move. You know, that's not a problem. But then actually, if we do a move like queen to d6, likelihood white will do c3. And yeah, it's okay. But not much can happen. There's another move. Does anybody have a suggestion on what Black should do? See, I don't think that it's such a good position for us, to be honest with you, completely. Looks a bit difficult, looks a bit problematic, and to be completely honest, it's just not nice. But we have got to do something. We have to find something. What is it? That's my question to you. What do we do now? Castles? Most definitely. Looks grand, but Black castles. Crazy looking move. And yet, what you're going to see is even more crazy. White thought that Black just blundered. He takes on c6. As you can see, there's the pin. And the idea being is that if Black plays b6 to c, I mean, okay, White can just definitely choose on what to do now. He can castle, not to mention he can do knight to the c6. Black can't take because of the queen. He can just castle. It's pretty powerful. So, what the hell is this? Why am I showing this? This is awful, right? Yeah, it gets even better. There's knight to the c6, so Black is sacking a queen. How about that? No, this is not a towel game, but it seems like one in just a few moves. Actually, After knight takes to the c6, it's crazy because white just can't save himself. If he takes that knight with the knight at the c6, we got queen takes g5 coming along. We'll get a threat on g2 and a hit on c6 and the two bishops, so that's obviously not happening. But the real fun begins when white actually chooses to take the pawn, take the queen. And I mean, this is not a blitz game. This is not a game in the 18th or 19th century when, in the Romantic era, it was considered that, when you're playing against a master and you sacrifice a piece, you got to accept it because otherwise you offend him. So you have to accept it. He gives material, you accept it, you get checkmates, you lose with honor. So that was a kind of the coffee chess. Now we have chess as a sport, so people can think about, really tricking the opponent and doing other type of things. But this wasn't a coffee type of game. This was a serious tournament game. And the potential that black grows for the queen is amazing. The game ends in literally 8 moves from now. And I want you to see how. See, after the knight takes on d4, white's got to do the only thing he can, which is queen d2. Now the black knight captures c2. Now still that doesn't look like there's enough compensation. But then we've got the move of bishop takes to e5. And white's pieces, besides the queen, of course, but white's pieces are starting to go less and less. Now the rook seems trapped out, so white is trying to give his best to get it out. But then black plays rook takes d8. Are you going to say, okay, black took quite a few pieces? Yes, he did. But keep in mind, white's still a queen up. So even though black has 2 bishops, a queen is supposed to really dominate. So he played rook c1, and he was like, what are you going to do? Okay, that was ballsy. That was good. But you know what? I have a queen. And now I want you to think about this position from black's side. I mean, what would you do? You see, it's scary to play that type of position. Obviously, black had that in terms of preparation. But what do we do? Yeah, I like it, but it's not about liking. You see, these positions, you either have a way to continue your attack or you lose the game. It's just how it goes. That's why I often say that if you want to lead up a successful gambit, try to make sure you rely on your potential, because having a good potential will help you to continue your attack and have it grow in the longer run. So bishop f4 is a smart move. Okay, thank you for suggesting that. Unfortunately, I think it kind of fails because white will just take there. And if we give a check on d3, he'll take with the king. And then after we take there, he'll likely take c2. And we just a knight down. Yeah, we got 2 pawns, but those pawns are not going to become really that strong for a while. And I think white's knight will easily block them. So now 2 pawns are definitely not enough. So something else has to happen. Knight d4 check. Thank you for suggesting. This is a good looking move. But I don't think it's going to work because white will just run. And then you've left him off the hook. So how about d4? You know what? d4 is the one. We hit the knight hard. And as white has to come back with his own knight on d1, because actually most of the other squares are not good, he gets in trouble. Now, I want you to realize how fantastic this is. If white plays with a move like knight b5, likelihood this move, we got the move of d3 with the check. The king will have to go back. And now we got bishop f4. If the queen takes now on the f4, we got d2 as a move. And so when the white rook comes out, we're going to take his queen. But this time, we are a minor piece up. We are the bishop up. It's amazing. It's because I said something in my first lecture on attacking that besides the general value of the pieces that everybody knows, like queen is equal to 9 points, rook is equal to 5 points, knight and bishop 3 points, king is precious, of course. But besides that, we have also what we call as a relative value of your pieces. And that was what I was able to learn from these grandmasters. You see, the grandmasters like to teach that not every piece is as important as, in general, it is considered. It depends on how it works together with the other pieces, how good, how well it's coordinated. And so d3 was just an incredible possibility for black. That's why we see that white may be a queen up, but because this queen isn't doing anything, it's not playing any real role modal to help white and give him possibilities, it turns out to be an actual burden. however strange that seems. So he plays knight d1 in hope to get back. So what do we do next? I want to hear your thoughts. So how do we continue the attack to follow? Now, while you're thinking about that, don't forget about the incredible deal. I was able to learn this, what I'm teaching you right now, and a lot more from the Gambit Domination Bundle. That has about, I think, 6 or 7 fantastic, like, packages with videos by top GMs on different type of gambits, how to fight gambits, what are the key concepts and principles. I was impressed by the quality of each of these lectures, and they're given to you for half price, like 50% off, which means that you're getting each like lecture package with many hours of training for about $7. This is an incredible deal. It almost gets like it's I don't think it can get any better. So check it out. It's a high quality type of stuff. So in any way, it's interesting here because similar to what I mentioned before, checks, captures, and direct threats are key. And yet, if we just go to play with a move of d3 with a check, okay, likelihood white would do king f1. And, you know, I kind of like that. But then where do we go from there? We've given the opportunity for white's knight to come out. So I think he's going to be okay with that for the most part. So no. Look more. Look more. Think about this. What do we do now? You know, in the chess bundle I was mentioning, it has a one thing that you'll get there is an impressive amount of positional concepts. What gambits rely on is not a quick tactical sequence. You can do that if your opponent blunders in a big time. But what these GMs usually provide are suggestions or ideas on how you can get what it takes to continue the attack even when there is no more of an immediate breakthrough over follow-up. What we need to do is just maintain a strength. There was the move of bishop e4 that was suggested just now. It was incredible because we get that bishop right up, and then we have an attack against g2. Should white choose to defend it with the rook, it leads to bishop f4. That was going to be great. And then in case white plays with queen g5 to get that queen going, what we have is d3 with the check. This is what really happened in the game. So let me promote that variation here. We got d3, king f1, and then we got d2 to just keep moving. White's got to do rook b1, and then we have bishop f4. And so what we see is that white just resigned in this position simply because there is nothing that he can get. Like the queen is being attacked. The other pieces are completely useless, including the king. And so the moment that bishop really comes out to f4, white resigned for the simple reason that there is nothing he can do. If he plays a move like queen to the g4, there's knight d4 coming out. And you can understand, you can realize that now when white goes back to protect the rook, there's just so much we can do. Like there is bishop f5 hitting the queen. If it goes back there, there is check there. And then there's rook d5. If he took that bishop, there would have been this check again. So then the queen falls. So that's horrible. And then after rook d5, it's a total domination. Like right now, white's completely unable to defend from the very simple idea of rook e5 and rook e1 check, which becomes pretty apparent after knight c3. Even if he comes out with a move like knight e3 in hope to get out, then we got knight e2 check, king f1, and bishop takes c3. And that white queen is just, it's a beauty princess, but that's about it. This is how as far as it gets. g4, check, there. I mean, black is just completely dominating with every single piece. And there is basically no way on how white can get out. There's king h3, and then there's like bishop takes h1, and black will promote his own queen, you know. This is as good as it gets. It's amazing. It's fantastic. I mean, now you could see that White simply spared himself the embarrassment, and he resigned earlier before all that. But it's just after Bishop F4, the game is practically over. And this is one of the, in my opinion, one of the most incredible practical examples of setting up a gambit position and what the sacrifice provides you. Now Black was able to sacrifice his queen to get not a winning combination as most people are used to, but a fantastic, phenomenal coordination and the potential that helped him out. These strategic concepts, lie in the core of a successful lead when you're playing a gambit. Because when you're able to do this, even if you forget the opening theory, you could still find your way. You can still find the right path to lead your attack and lead your initiative. It was incredibly amazing to see the difference between Black's incredibly effective pieces, which were playing like on 200% of each of its power, as opposed to White's completely awful rooks and every other piece, including the queen. So this is why I'm suggesting you guys to check out this like 50% off incredible gambit domination bundle that has a lot of openings like this and others that provide you incredible attacking possibilities, together with some amazing principles, strategic concepts that you can really combine within the good opening to help you become more successful. And yes, there is a risk when you're playing a gambit, but isn't that how we learn? I mean, come on. We could choose to play some boring game, which will probably be more secure and give us an easy draw. But we want to learn. We can sacrifice, we lose, but then we learn. And you know that reminds me to one saying that was given by Grandmaster Savelli Tartakova almost a century ago. He said, "The one who sacrifices may lose, but one who doesn't will certainly lose." And it's kind of a metaphorical saying for players who don't sacrifice, they'll lose because they will just never experience the beauty. You may actually lose 5 games and then win 1. That makes it all worthwhile because, again, you know you've learned. You know that you mastered the ability to attack. That's why these Grandmasters videos and packages are so valuable, because they essentially explain the essence of leading up an attack, and they give some very strong theoretical lines on how you can get to those positions in your games. So now I hope that you like these examples that I was able to show you today. So check out the bundle that I was mentioning. It's a pretty good one. So thank you all for joining me tonight. And if any of you has a question or you'd like to send me feedback or whatever, feel free to visit my website, which is tigerlilov.com, and send me comments or questions or suggestions. I welcome anything, maybe your own games even. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.